Started.
I am.
All right. Well, Lisa, I am so honored to have you here today on Passion Love Pursuit podcast. In the midst of everything going on, I'm sure your world is a little bit different as everybody on this planet, that is completely different. So how are you handling COVID-19? We might as well just start with that because I don't think it's an easy topic to avoid right now. So
What do we say? It's the elephant in the room. There's kind of no way to get around this. Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me on, Erica. This is great. I'm thrilled to be here. And it's a new world, right? We are learning how to adapt and pivot on a dime right now because while I'm happily working in my home office, which I've been doing for 10 years now, it's a little different when you're being told you can't leave your house. That there's that dynamic of, well, I already have my routine. I'm doing my thing. Like, it's fine. I'm fine. I'm like, I'm good. And then all of a sudden, like, but I can't go anywhere if I want to. Like, strange things. Like, my lease is up and I have to get a new car. I'm trying to figure out what to do.
huh.
Like, things
Well,
you
you
would
don't need the car right now, I guess,
no,
necessarily. Or
but
actually, I don't
like,
know.
do I extend my lease? Do I just get in on any sale? Like, honestly, there's are weird things like I wouldn't have even thought about. Just
My goodness.
our
How
days
has it shifted your business? Has it shifted anything in any way?
So two things have happened, which is I think what everyone is feeling across the board. My business has been virtual and online now for years, so thankfully I'm already comfortable with this medium and like dealing with the fact that I have a virtual storefront and I coach people virtually. Like, this is, thank goodness for Zoom, because
Yeah.
I think I started this 2.5 years ago with Zoom being part of my daily work experience. So for that, I'm thankful. It's getting everyone else kind of comfortable in my world and making sure that they're on board for these changes. And I think that's where I'm seeing there's still a little pushback, but then there's a whole group of people who are like, okay, teach me how, show me how, what do I do now? So I'm getting both. I'm getting people who are just like overwhelmed, which I think is normal reaction to what's happening. And then the others who are like, okay, I got to figure out how to make the most of this time. I'm like, I can help you with all of that.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I think we're so blessed to have Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah.
We can't fathom anything without Wi-Fi, really. It's amazing what we're capable of doing today. And like you said, Zoom, that we're able to connect with people and also continue our business if you have a virtual business. So we're blessed.
No, I'm so thankful. And I will say though, I was a little nervous. The first 10 days or so, Wi-Fi was a little crazy because I think everybody was home for the first time on trying to figure, and it was like, I have a bunch of like online courses. I couldn't even watch the videos. I was like, what is going on?
Wow.
Oh, because there's millions of more people doing what I'm doing right now.
Oh, so interesting. Well, so
I stand out a little.
like I said, it was hard to avoid the conversation about what is going on, but I do want to get into what this whole episode's about. And really, I mean, you're a woman that speaks very highly about becoming confident in what you're doing in your life and really creating what you want based on a foundation of confidence. So I want to dive into that, but of course I want to hear your story first. So can you let us know where you kind of started from and what led you into this platform you're in today?
Absolutely. So I apologize for listeners who are like, what? I have a very colorful background. This was never my intention. I would never wanted to be in front of the camera, as I was talking to Erica about before we were on the air. I was always very happy behind the camera. I was a talent agent and manager for 12 years. I grew up here in Los Angeles. Half my family was entertainment, and that was my lifelong dream. I never imagined doing anything else. And it's so oddly cyclical, or what's happening right now, because my business was greatly affected during 9/11. And then in 2003, I actually had to close my management company, and I repped actors, writers, musicians, and comedians because my mom became ill and I became her caregiver. So my first career, my first big passion was brought to a halt. Not that I would ever change what happened. I mean, taking care of my mom was never a question, but giving up that first love and passion and trying to figure out what to do after was kind of the catalyst to where I am today. So 5 years went by when I was taking care of her, working high-end retail, like just trying to pay bills and just make sure that we had insurance and just whatever it took to take care of her. but I wasn't a priority. She was. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was taking care of her. And, my own needs weren't being met. And I finally had to make a decision about what did I want to do next, because I hadn't gone to school or worked my butt off. Sorry, I'm not sure if we can swear
No,
there.
you're good.
I didn't work in entertainment for 12 years and work my way up to give up a career and then realize I can't go back to it. Because after 5 years, you'd have to start over. And there was just, the passion then was gone. And I also didn't have the patience. It's something I learned after loss. Like, very trite things no longer come across very well for you. And so very superficial things become very hard to handle when you've had a massive loss. And so again, I was like trying to rethink, like, how am I going to find my happy? And I was dating a physician who told me to get into healthcare, because this is now 2008, and now we're in a recession and there's no great business to have. And so I go back to school and get a degree in healthcare. Like, what? Like, right brain, left brain, complete change of my whole world. And as I'm in this 2-year program and I'm trying to hustle along, I mean, it was just horrible. I became a caregiver again because my grandmother became ill. And now I was like having panic attacks. I don't want to be in healthcare. I don't like this. It's simply going to be a job. And I just was distraught again about what to do for myself. So the only thing I knew at that moment was I can't let myself go like I did when I took care of my mom. So I'm going to keep my health on par. So I started making sure my 5:30 a.m. workouts before going to the hospital, and making sure like what I was eating was as healthy as it was back in 2011.
It's a little different these days.
I know. I feel like it's horrible. We ate like a bunch of lean cuisine and Yoplait yogurts, but then that was actually really good.
So funny.
So horrible.
When we learn more, it definitely changes.
Oh my gosh, what were we thinking?
Yeah.
But I just put this whole health thing in the forefront and realized I had to take care of myself to be able to handle this again. And a direct sales business landed in my lap in the middle of all this chaos. And I thought to the person on the other end of the phone that they were out of their mind. And I was like, why are you talking to me? Someone on LinkedIn. I didn't know who they were. And she's like, well, it's a home business. You can pick your own hours, work it like a hobby. It was the magic word that I needed, because I was, again, in a career that I didn't want or about to be. I was just finishing school. I'm dealing with losing my grandmother. I'm trying to make sure, like, please don't gain that 40 pounds again. Like, keep your head on straight. Just stay focused. Don't fall over. Like, you're going to be okay. And someone wants me to get back into sales. Like, I was like, this is mind boggling. But my skin had just gone through so many horrible evolutions. With my mom, I got cystic acne. And then by the time that got fixed, I had what was called melasma. So I'm dealing with my grandmother, and I have this brown, patchy, looks like dirt all over my face. And I'm mortified and horrified, because I always had clear skin until I didn't. I had great skin until I didn't. And I was like, there's nothing that works. I spent every dime I had with estheticians and doctors. I was like, this is crazy. Why can't you fix this? And they're like, there's nothing that helps melasma. You just got to do this and do that. And hopefully your hormones will relax and you'll get past this. And I was like, that is the worst answer ever.
Like, that's not a solution at all.
Because we tried every laser peel product and just nothing was budget. Like, nothing was going to happen. That crazy phone call with the person who wanted me to start selling was for a skincare brand. And in her conversation about the hobby and it'll fix my skin, I was like, okay, fine. Reluctantly and complete skeptic, I hopped in, not knowing anything about this world and what it would mean, but found that I had a passion for something again. And that was so exciting, because it had been a very dark period in my life. And my skin changed dramatically in 3 weeks. And I had nurses coming to me asking me what was happening. So my business took off without me even saying a word. And I got to start investing back in myself in this whole personal development world the last 10 years. Sorry, it's a long story, but there's
no, it's awesome. Well, So
Yeah.
I could touch on a lot of that because I completely sympathize with you because I have melasma and I've had it since I was 25. So a long time I've battled it, and I know that is very difficult to get rid of. It actually, you can't really get rid of it. You just maintain it. I know a lot about it. I've tried lasers, I've tried peels, I've tried every product under the sun, HQ, hydroquinone, as you know about that.
Yeah.
Um, so I battle and cystic acne. I've
Yeah.
always, so I really relate to your story so passionately, and I'm very empathetic about it because it was my own battle as well. And I actually, so if we could say the brand that you started repping with.
Yeah, I would love to. It's Rodan and Fields. It's
Hmm.
10 years now. I still use it, and I will get close to the camera. It took away my melasma. I have no makeup on,
Oh my gosh.
and I
Well,
just
I,
50.
oh my gosh, you look remarkable. Oh my gosh. Well, so I've used Rodan in Fields,
Oh,
and actually, okay, so I'm not going to share much of my journey, but like I said, I've battled with melasma. I finally found a laser that works for it, but I will
awesome.
only go to one person for it because he's one of the co-creators of it, and it's
Cool.
the Fraxel Dual. But I also have used hydroquinone quite a bit because it works.
It works.
Unfortunately, I do know the toxicity of it. That's my biggest concern. But Rodan and Fields, I will say, is actually a brand that I stuck with for a long time because I did see a noticeable change, and it wasn't as high a percentage as hydroquinone as some of the other ones like Obagi.
Right.
So Rodan and Fields, I did the reverse.
Reverse lightning.
Yes. So
Yes.
I'm curious, what do you, and this is a little off topic, but I do want you to share how much it's helped you because, again, I'm very empathetic and passionate about skincare and wellness and all this stuff too. So, uh, what did you start with that really changed your skin? And then what do you do to maintain it?
So what's really interesting, I think, so at the time, and I know this plays into hormones as well. So when you get melasma, it's a combination of hormone issues and sun sensitivity. So most likely, Erica, you and I had the same thing happen, which is whatever they were giving us to get over the adult cystic acne triggered this incredible sun sensitivity. So even though you've even more olive skin than I do, I grew up in the sun. I grew up here. I'm used to being outside. I was used to putting sunscreen on, but all of a sudden there was this limitation to how much I could protect my skin. And it happened overnight with the melasma. It just happened. And the other thing about melasma is it shows up even when your body is warm. It's a very
Yes.
interesting thing because it's a
Hmm.
hormonal issue. So you can have sun damage and not have melasma. They are two different things.
Hmm.
But for me, it was melasma, and I was on birth control pills at the time. So kind of a double whammy. Like you're doing this because you're told it's going to help with the acne, and now you get your acne under control, but you're still taking the birth control pills, which we now know, again, much different. This was 10 years ago, everyone. Don't
Right.
yell at me. Don't yell at me. It was 10 years ago. But I will tell you honestly, in 3 weeks, my skin changed dramatically. Like I had, and I used reverse lightning as well, because we only had the one version. We didn't have both. We have two versions now, one for just all types of sun damage, and then the one that really helps with melasma. Um, but I had a giant patch on my forehead. It looked like a bat wing. And then I had two giant patches under my eyes. And there was no way to hide them. There was no makeup, nothing. The lasers back then were not Fraxel. There were other versions. They just
Hmm.
weren't. The high dose hydroquinone was too strong and actually didn't work. What's super interesting about the Rodan and Fields products, which again, as someone who had tried everything on the market, I was
I hear
known
you.
by name. Everyone knew me at Neiman's and at Nordstrom because I literally went counter to counter to find anything to work. I have the same dermatologist I've had since I was in my 20s. So again, I've these people know me. They've been through everything with me, but my skin was at this moment where nothing was working. 3 weeks into using reverse lightning, life changed. Like everything, it just started to disappear. The makeup, I called it spackling back then. I wore less cover up. Like I could actually leave the house without putting on a full face of makeup. And I was realizing my morning routine was getting quicker, but it was the tackle of nurses in the hospital one day of them coming up to me wanting to know what I was doing because I was glowing. And I didn't really understand like the depth of how much had changed. But I started to see and I realized yeah, it's easier getting ready in the morning. I'm not taking as much time. And,
Hmm.
unfortunately back then, one, I had a, what are they called? What was that phone? Oh my gosh, I just forgot
Oh,
the
BlackBerry.
BlackBerry. Thank you, Blueberry. I had a BlackBerry, and the pictures I had of myself were on that phone. They never transferred properly to the iPhones that I have today, but I was afraid of the camera back then. This part of the not wanting to be in front of people. With the adult cystic acne, I was like, hell no, don't want pictures
Yeah.
taken. And then with the melasma, again, not being able to cover it up in any way or really hide it, I was very, very self-conscious by all of it. So I am still within brand. I have not left Rodan and Fields in the 10 years that I've been using it,
Wow.
but I don't use reverse anymore, except every now and then if I just want like a kind of a burst of brightening, because I love the wash, which is a scrub. It's an exfoliating wash. I will use that every now and then just when I want to kind of give my face a really good exfoliation. Um, and then if I'm going to actually be in the sun, so let's say I'm on vacation, I don't remember what that is, but if I'm going somewhere like tropical, or if I'm going to be outside more than just walking the dog, I will use the reverse sunscreen because it is by far the best for helping you keep that melasma away. But on the daily, I use our other line called Redefine because I'm just worried about the anti-aging elements of life, the wrinkles and firmness and keeping fine lines away. So I am a 100% Redefine girl now, which it was a slow transition. Like I will say the first couple of years, probably 2 years, I used reverse lightning like insistent. Like it was the only thing because it worked so well. And then I liked it. And then we learned more about hydroquinone, as we've talked about as well.
Yeah.
And I will say the difference between the high dose in your dermatologist's office is that it really is a high dose. And the trick and the key with how Rodan and Fields works is it's the layering. So people are like, why are all the steps? Because you're getting a little bit in each step. And that's how you see the impact and how the products work so well is that there's a little bit in exfoliation, there's a little bit in the toner,
Hmm.
there's a little bit in the treatment, and then you have a sunscreen to protect yourself. So it's mad genius. And I will tell you, every esthetician and dermatologist that I've met and spoke to since, they can't do better. Like they're like, we get you. We understand how it worked for you because it's really smart how they took that small dose over the counter
Hmm.
of hydroquinone and spread it out. And that's
Amazing.
where the results came from. So yeah, I love it. But the best product I think we created is active hydration serum. And I
Oh,
give all the
sounds good.
credit. I give all the credit to that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I just relate to your story because it's something I struggled in. I do know when it comes to confidence, like she mentioned, Lisa, that is almost impossible to cover up melasma. It does look like dirt on your face, and people just think sometimes they'll say, "Oh, you look so tan." I
Yeah.
personally have it all around my face, and the reason being is I've chosen some wrong lasers to battle either the melasma, as they say, or the acne scars or whichever, and it actually triggered or it um, exacerbated the melasma even more so. So I actually have it everywhere, and um, it's a lot better for myself as well. And I've found like the right products that
Good.
also help, but I'm totally on board with Rodan in Fields, how much it's helped me when I did use it. And I did use it for a couple of years, to be honest. So anyways, I just wanted to touch on that because I really just relate to the story. And I know that women, especially, how we are seen, we want to feel beautiful. And when we have these imperfections, sometimes we will, of course, we'll have these insecurities because we have to cover it up and we see that we think people are just looking at that imperfection. It's really ridiculous, but it's true. It's a legit thing. So yeah.
As trite as it is, our face is like our business card, right? We do business face to face with people, regardless if we're on Zoom or if we're belly to belly. Our face is our calling card. If you have any type of skin issue, you are uber aware of it.
Yeah.
And one confidence killer is that, like, the acne or the melasma. I mean, that's such a one, we can treat it now. So I'm always like, let me just help you, because that's like a fix that I can help you with, and we can get you like going forward and feeling better about yourself. Again, as someone who grew up with not having any skin issues, and then wham bam, now I got them all. I was like, this sucks. Like, this isn't fair. Like, what did I do to deserve this ticket? Like, come on.
Mm.
But at the same time, it does seem it's very superficial. It's just your face. You're still healthy. You're fine. Everything's good. But why not feel better? Like, you really can improve these issues. And if this is something that's hanging you up, please put your hand up. I want to help you, because I don't want you to feel bad about yourself. You shouldn't. You should love the skin that you're in, like, for sure.
Mhm.
It shouldn't be a battle. Not today. We have too many options.
And to touch on also the health and wellness that you also started to focus on, I mean, you realize how much that was going to help you at least be present for your grandmother, present for your mom at the time, I mean, and in your business, the more you work on your health and wellness, it's gonna trickle into everything else. So I
Oh,
completely agree how essential it is. So what were some of the steps you took to improve your wellness and health at the time?
so starting just when my grandmother got sick, so I'd always been athletic. I try to think back, I'm like, when wasn't I? Well, I wasn't when things were really stressful, right? When I was taking care of my mom, I put all self-care stuff on hold. My workouts were not consistent. I was eating for two, because I would make her a meal, I'd make me something, and then I'd try to get her to eat it, and she wouldn't, so I'd eat her part too. So yeah, that was great. And then I had an aunt and uncle who were sending Dean and DeLuca like sweets every day from New York. Like, we were getting like these deliveries of babka and things I'd never eaten before that I was now eating all of because it was in front of me. So when my grandmother got sick, again, what was good 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and a little different now, but I was paying attention to my calories, and I was paying attention to how much working out I was doing. Now, I've also spoken about this for those who do know my story. I went a little extreme, which is also a problem. There is a happy medium to all things in our life. Our food and our health needs to stay somewhere in the middle. But I went hardcore into the Tracy Anderson world, and I ended up really, really screwing my whole body up from head to
Mm.
toe. I was working out 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, in a heated room with Tracy and Gwyneth and all those lovely people. And my cortisol levels were skyrocketing. My adrenals were tanking. Um, I got osteopenia. I went into perimenopause. What other good things
Wow.
in those 2 years? I really shot my hormones out. And I was operating on that 1,200 calories that I was used to doing. So 2 hours a day, 6 days a week,
Mm.
high intensity workouts, and eating at 1,200. So a nutritionist got a hold of me finally and said, you are starving yourself. I'm like,
Wow.
what? I'm short. I can only eat this many calories. She's like, no, you're training like an athlete. You need to
Wow.
eat like an athlete. So it was 2.5 years of damage, like head to toe body. I looked like I had a down blanket on because the cortisol had just taken over, and I just was
Mm.
putting on weight that we couldn't understand. Tracy's like, you got to work out more. You got to do more cardio and stop eating. And basically she thought I was closet eating. What'd she call it? Closet eating? And I was like, oh, no, I'm just eating my baby food like you recommended. I'm not really doing anything else. Um, but it was pretty crazy because my body was fighting and screaming, and it was telling me there was something wrong. And I was listening to her instead of listening to myself. And that was probably one of the biggest mistakes I made, but also a huge turning point in my life, because it allowed me to focus on regaining my health. I had a physical therapist who literally put her hand, she's like, look, I love that you're keeping me in business by coming in here 3 times a week, but you have to stop doing these workouts if you want to get better. Like, I was so I didn't even see that I was hurting myself. Like, I was like, this is just like because I'm doing all the work. Like the excuse to see a physical therapist 3 times a week because I was working out like the trainers were at the gym.
Mm.
Like, my brain was in la la land. So ladies, listen, if your body is breaking down consistently and it's telling you it doesn't feel well, stop what you're doing. Something's not right. And figure it out. And it took me a while. I had to go to specialists all over town. It started with those nutritionists. I had to find integrative doctors who would really test me for hormones. I mean, I ended up having hypothyroidism on top of osteopenia and all these other things, which most Western med doctors didn't quite understand at the time. But they figured out, this group figured out about the cortisol issue, because I had been asking Tracy about this all the time. Like, what is this cortisol? Why do I keep reading about this? Like, oh, if that was real, I'd have it because I work out more than you. I don't think that's the answer. I think the fact that it looks like I have a down blanket on my body and there's something terribly wrong. Like I'm puffy everywhere, like inflammation is out of control.
Wow.
So this health kick, my life change was learning how to eat and operate for all the anti-inflammatory things I could do. So while I was tested up and down, backwards and sideways for Lyme by that same doctor, it was never that. It was truly just cortisol, adrenal failure, like all the other things that are hormonal and show some of the same similar signs of your body rejecting certain things. So food sensitivity tests, supplements, like I take more supplements than anyone I know. I do a lot of stuff over at Next Health, where I do cryotherapy, LED beds. I do vitamin IVs, ozone therapy. I mean, I am the anti-aging, because if it's about anti-inflammatory wins, I'm going to do it. So,
which is key for right now, considering with the coronavirus, I know as well, it's going to benefit you there.
Totally. And they even have some brand new they have brand new immune boosters that are peptide based, and they just got released like the week as everything started to close. So I'm excited to try them when we can again, because in particular, it will help fend off a lot of the stuff that we're going through, because if your immune system is boosted instead of always kind of
on high drive,
totally, if you're straining that area, man, it is tough. And the other part of this was just personal development. This business, getting into Radiant Fields, gave me a whole outlet to start working on me, and not just my physicality, but my mental health as well. And
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, first, I mean, to comment on all that you just shared now, I do think what is important to hear in this is, like, sometimes we just have to listen to ourselves. If something is off, listen to yourself, not others necessarily, because they're not you, and you're more familiar with your body when something is off. So I think that's super key. And then getting to the root cause of it and getting the answers that you need to get, not just settling for somebody else's belief. I think that's important.
I mean, I scoured the earth of LA to find doctors. I mean, I probably went through 5 or 6 specialists till I found one that really made sense, gave me answers. And it's still kind of unraveling. Like there's still times something will happen and we'll be like, hey, what is this? And they'll take a couple of different doctors to figure it out still.
Yeah.
If you do this damage to yourself, you can't expect to just wake up the next day and be like, oh, everything's fine.
Right.
Exactly. It's a process.
Well, let's talk about the personal development that you went through with your switch in careers or business with Rodan and Field. So how did you develop the confidence to take on this business, and how it has evolved from the beginning?
So again, it was just this weird thing that I thought would be a hobby, which I look back and again, totally naive, complete skeptic. I didn't understand the channel at all. I'd only kind of heard horror stories. So I was like, but what I did connect with immediately was 2 professionally trained dermatologists, women who ran a company and had success with a prior brand. And that to me was like, this is pretty cool. And I kind of remember seeing this stuff in Nordstrom. I never bought it, but I do remember it. Oh, that's pretty cool. You mean they left retail and they decided to go into direct sales? Nobody's ever done that before. So it was stuff like that opened my eyes to being like, there is an option. And honestly, the results for my skin in those first 3 weeks, And after spending so much money with my Beverly Hills dermatologist, I was like, this shit is gold. Like, this is
Yeah.
amazing. So I think that excitement, even though I was honestly like at a very low point in my life personally and going through, another loss, um, I didn't look like I was feeling. And it actually helped me, I think, pick me up to move faster because I wasn't also looking as down and depressed as I was feeling. Like
Mm.
my skin was glowing. I looked healthy. I was eating well. I was exercising. I was, all these things were adding up. And immediately in this world of direct sales, you're handed some personal development books from your mentors. And
Mm.
I was like, what is this? Like, what? I don't need any of this. I don't need a coach. Like, I've been in sales. I've run my own business before. Why are you trying to get me coaching? It did not make sense. I'm going to say the first year, maybe in the first 2 years, I kept earning coaching sessions with professional personal development instructors. And I was like, okay, sure. My why. Like, it was so bizarre to me because I was running off of pure passion, right? The products work. I loved sharing them with people. I loved getting other people to get results. And you could also earn money doing this. I was like, what are people so opposed to? If people actually understood residual income, they'd be breaking down doors and walls to do this, because the only other place I ever saw residual income was my actor clients, who I'd get them a gig, they would do something, and that one check, those residual checks, sorry, many checks, but the residual checks are the ones they never shared.
Hmm.
That's what was paying their rent. That was paying for their kids' private school. I was like,
Hmm.
residual checks are amazing. There's another industry where you can get them. So that, all of that got me excited. And this brand was pretty new. There wasn't a lot of people in LA doing it. So for me, it was just kind of like trial and error. I did things I've never done before. I would show up and host meetings. I was terrified of public speaking.
Hmm.
I used to get horrible flop sweat, and I would just be bright red like a tomato during the whole presentation, and just drenched and like couldn't wait to get off stage. But I realized if I wanted to grow this thing, I was going to have to talk to people, and it would have to be more than just a belly to belly conversation. So I just taught myself how to do it. Yeah. Made some scripts, memorized the scripts.
So yeah, talk about that. How did you get comfortable? Because I think that's the one thing that I think, what is that? I think that's the number one fear is public speaking. So how did you actually step into it? And I know actually I found you on Tony Robbins and Dean Graciosi's mastermind
Yeah.
training, if you want to say, and that's how I found you. So obviously you're really stepping up your game. So I want to know how you
I
got
know the
confident.
transition to get there, because that was a huge leap for me as well.
So yeah, how did you get comfortable into public speaking, starting your own podcast, and also showing up on stages? How did
Yeah.
you step into that?
So again, trial and error. So early on, again, probably the first year of being in this business, I looked at my mentors and I saw the success they were having. And the ones who were having the most success were the ones who were speaking in front of groups.
Hmm.
So even though we were in different states, I was like, okay, I'm going to figure out how to do this. So I, I want to say, like, you kind of model after what you know, right? So these people had the lingo. I liked how they expressed their why, and how this business was working for them. So I took a similar script that the company provided, which gave you the facts that you needed to have, and then I just incorporated my story again, like how it had changed my skin, how it had brought a financial change for me and for other people that I was helping. And you just practice it. Honestly, I would print it out and tape it to my mirror in the morning, and I would just keep reading it and reading it until the
Amazing.
script was actually me talking. I mean, honest, it's as basic gets. And I'm not going to say I wasn't terrified. It probably took a couple years. Again, the groups would grow, right? It'd be like 5 people, then 20, then 30, then 300. So that would be like kind of like that 300 window of people. And I'd still have a little bit of flop sweat. I'd still, get nervous. And I still was like, but I knew after I did it, people were getting the information they needed. So I would just have to get over that fear. Just was practice. And I just kept at it. I was consistent and I just kept working on myself. I tried to make it better. I tried to make it sound more personal. I tried to make it sound more fun, not so flat. Like, again, public speaking was not my specialty. And
Amazing.
4 years in, one of my mentors asked me to speak at our leadership summit, just to share some best practices. And I was like, okay. And I didn't know what I was saying yes to. And I got there. And the first night we were in Nashville, everyone's going out to have fun. And she's like, okay, so, tomorrow, there's going to be two groups, like 6,000 total. I was like, 6,000 people here?
Wow.
What are you talking about?
Amazing.
So instead of going out with everyone the first night, I stayed in my room and I paced and I just read my notes. I had note cards, just like college, just had my note cards, and I was talking and talking and talking to myself until I felt comfortable. I was pacing my room like I would a stage, just going back and forth and doing that over and over. By the time I got there and got to my time, everything that could have possibly gone wrong with the AV system had. So they had me mic'd, but the mics weren't working and the monitors weren't working, and they had taken my notes already because they had to transcribe them into the monitor. So they're like, okay, just go ahead. We're just gonna fly with this. And I was pushed out on the stage, and I don't remember really what happened. I blacked out. But I finished. I turned around to acknowledge my mentor and say, is that okay? Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know what just happened. And she's like, everything's great. Turn around, turn around. And there were a line of people waiting to ask me more questions. And I was like,
Amazing.
so the 6,000, like after that, I was like, I can talk to anybody.
That's great.
So I said that, and it's cute and all for the story, but I was still only talking to, hundreds of people at a time. I hadn't been in another stage with 6,000. And then last year, I joined a mastermind that Brendan Bouchard and his partner in this one, Dean Graziosi, and then their other partner, Ethan Willis, run, called High Performance Mastermind. And we went to Sundance and Puerto Rico together. And it's just been this incredible year. I love Brendan, but Dean and I clicked honestly, we're separated at birth. Dean and I are just so much fun together, and he and I just vibe. We have very similar family backgrounds and struggles, and nothing was ever easy, but we just kind of persevered. We always kind of just picked ourselves up and kept going. And we both just related to each other's stories so well. So Brendan sent us an email, I want to say it was late April, early May of last year, and said, hey, my friends Tony and Dean are going to be, they're having a webinar. I think it's our web class. What did he even call it?
Yeah, I think webinar. It was
webinar. It was so downplayed. No big deal. Just this webinar.
Yeah.
You should check it out. I've seen it already. I love it. I think it's a great program. Because people are asking, why are you recommending another program? We're in yours. And he's like, it's Tony and Dean. You got to check it out. So I jumped on. I was probably 10, 20 minutes late to the webinar because whatever, emails, you just forget where things are. And I see Tony and Dean, and Dean is talking to me through the screen. I was like, my brother is talking to me. And then I was like, and Tony, now this is the best. Tony is a man that I have avoided my whole life. So Tony was a client at William Morris when I started in the 90s. And he was this big, happy man. And agency worlds back in those days were very dark and dreary and very cutthroat. And I thought he was full of shit. I was like, there is no way anyone is this happy at all. This is the early 90s. Life is rough. You're crazy. There's nobody this happy. So I would step out of meetings that we had with Tony.
That's hilarious.
23, and I was like, I want none of this happiness. This is bullshit. Nobody.
No, I want none of this happiness. That's great.
We get involved. So KBB, this webinar is going last May, and I can't wait to press the button because they're talking to me. They're telling me, they're like, we have this blueprint which can help you do X, Y, and Z with your business, and we'll help you implement it, and we'll help you. And I was like, what is this magical machine? Where have you been? As someone who does training and coaching, and I'm always looking for a way to kind of simplify the route of getting out my information and getting it to people. And that's what this was going to do. And I was like, this is incredible. So I was like, press the button. And I bought in and I did the program. And then I launched a coaching program because of how they inspired me to write it up. And I was just kind of blown away by all of it. I was like, this is incredible. And it's so simple. If I can do this and figure it out, anybody can figure this out. And I just was kind of on this high from the whole thing. And in August, Dean asked if anyone wanted to be ambassadors. And I was like, oh, meet and greets? I'll do one in LA. Absolutely. This is great. And then it turned into, hey, you know, we're going to need speakers because there's not enough of us, being Tony and Dean, to go around to all the places that wanted to hear about KBB. So we need to hire some speakers. Like, all right, so who's going to audition? I was like, okay, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I love this program. So sure, I'll do it. I mean, honestly, didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
600 of us applied, and it took all last fall. In December, 24 of us were picked.
Wow.
And
Only 24. Amazing.
yeah.
Wow.
So we are now speakers, trainers, and coaches because they realized as they were going through this whole process that they needed us to do and wear different hats. So we are part of the corporate gang, I guess. We're all independent contractors. I'm not hired by them, but I am brought in to help with these implementation labs that people pay for. So if you're in the course, you know who I am because you've seen me on the page, you've gotten access to me, or I've helped train you. But if you've paid for the implementation weekends, workshops, I've been in Arizona with you and I help you in 2 days execute everything and launch your masterclass, your webinar, whatever it is you're doing. So it's amazing and super intensive and nothing I ever thought I would do, but I've been someone who's always liked a challenge. And I thought, hey, I don't know what all this can do for me, but to get training from Tony and Dean to
Amazing.
be better at what I love doing already, sign me up. Sign me up. And that's what it's just been this wild, wild ride. So I was just as surprised. There were many iterations about what ended up getting released in February for the new KBB launch for 2.0. There was times when I was told I was actually going to be in person and being interviewed. There were times when we were told no one was going to be talked about. Like we didn't know. The 24 of us did not know exactly what was happening because it kept changing. And I had actually done Dean's podcast a couple of weeks earlier, and that was supposed to air that week. I mean, things just changed all the time. So I was like, whatever. I had it on. I had people over, and, you know, I was excited about the watch party, and I was really thrilled because 2.0 is just as incredible as it should be. And I had kind of stepped out of the room to go get some water, and I heard Tony say my name. Like, I think I saw my picture, but I didn't register as I was walking out of the room. And then I heard him say my name and I came flying back in. I'm like, holy shit, where did they find that picture? This wasn't something I submitted. It's an old picture of like a dating app. I don't even know where it came from, but I was very pleased. And it was super cool because they have seen me and they've seen a transformation, and they did know that I, you know, had spent lots of money with other coaches and people in this world and not felt like I was given what I paid for. And so it was kind of, it felt good to be acknowledged by them and to get to share that part of the story, which I think a lot of people feel. This personal development space is huge. There are tons of life and business coaches around. But there's also a lot of people who I will say maybe fall under the influencer title as well. And they often promise things that they don't actually deliver. And I think that's what drew me to Brendan and to Dean, was that these men, which was odd too, because again, I'd spent so much money and supported so many women in this realm. But these two guys walk the walk and talk the talk. Like,
absolutely.
If you want to learn how to do X, Y, and Z, here you go. This is the course. This is the program. Here you do it.
I agree. Well, talking about that, so what did you build? So I know your website, which is stunning, by the way, the Confidence Crown. I love it. So just learning about you, I want to if you could share, what have you built? What are you helping women today step into, and how are you serving them?
Well, thank you for asking, because it's been a kind of like a trial by error too, also figuring out what people need. People come to me, that confidence factor and how the confidence crown came about was from the direct sales business. I'll be honest. I help women who are pros in their professional life. Like they've got big careers and they start this plan B, this side business, and they get stuck. You know, they hear a couple of no's from friends and family. They don't maybe get a quick return on their investment. And so they start to kind of freeze and stumble. And I'm like, why am I so resilient and you aren't? Like, let's figure this out. And I really did kind of a beta test. And it came down to, oh my gosh, there's this confidence factor that is missing. And I was like, well, let's fix this, because I have no reason why, there's no reason why I am able to get up and keep going all the time. And you're letting the same thing stop you. So let's work on that. And that's how the Confidence Crown formed. I loved the podcast medium because I didn't have to be on camera. Little did I know. Um, little did I know that was going to happen. And I thought that was a great way to get my message out, because I didn't have a blog prior. I wasn't visible really prior. And if people knew me, they really just knew me for skincare. And I wanted to share that there was more behind just the skincare brand. So that was the rationale for all of that. And then the personal development stuff kept getting kicked up because people wanted more from me. So coaching and training, lots of it has been one-on-one. But then I realized I can tackle more people in a group setting. So let's do some group coaching. And so last summer I launched, it was called Earn Your Crown. And it was a great like 5-step mini course to get people, again, kind of get their headspace, their mindset straight, because that really affects you finishing anything else. So I like to start all my courses now with mindset. I'm actually doing a mindset challenge in April because I think it's super, super important to start with that. Because once we can tackle the mindset, I can help you with anything. Like,
Yeah, I'm actually going to be releasing an episode this Monday about that, because there's two important factors that could propel you in such a phenomenal way, and that's mindset and confidence.
Yep.
So I think, I mean, this episode in general is about the valuable asset of confidence. And I'm curious, how do you, number one, maintain it for yourself with all the ups and downs that we go through? Because there's some real lows right now, and then there's some highs. You know, it's a constant cycle. No one would ever predict what we're going through right now, but I'm curious, how do you help people build the confidence in themselves to take their business to the next level? What are some of the things you share with others?
So again, I broke it down into, we got to figure out what's behind everything, right? There's some emotional tie. There's some usually traumatic incident at some point. And it could be being bullied as a kid on the playground. Like, it doesn't mean it has to be some horrific situation, but there's some trauma in your life somewhere along the line. People who you loved and believed in told you couldn't do something. People put this on you, their own negativity. And so I like to kind of get to the root of it. Like, do you happen to know when you started feeling this way? When did you start doubting yourself? When did you start thinking you weren't worthy? So that's kind of the mindset stuff I work on just to start with. But I actually wrote a book called Be #StrongHer, a guide to building confidence, so that I could kind of get those basics out to people in a workbook form, so they could be like, here, start with this, because if you can get through this, then we can really propel you to the next level, because you will have, in a sense, admitted to yourself what it is that's holding you back. Because that's honestly the first step. I can try, I can guess, I can do a lot of attempts to break that down, but until you are actually truly ready to share what is hurting and holding you back, it's hard to tackle that.
I agree.
But then we can fly, and then I can help you launch whatever business you want. We can do whatever you need in your life. For me, Erica, I still wish I understood why Dean and I are so damn resilient. And I guess Tony too. And Brendan, I guess all of us have this, we've hit a lot of dark places in our life, but instead of using it to hold us back, we've actually used it to help us propel. And I think, losing my mom, she was my best friend, and then losing my grandmother, second best friend, like I was like, wow, my cornerstones are gone. Like the people who I counted on the most are no longer here. There's nobody else who's going to basically save me, right? This is all on me now. And I've always been super independent, and I was raised by a single mom. So I know what it's like to have to take care of myself at a very early age. I started working when I was 13, 14. So I just have always had that kind of resilience. Like if I wanted something, I had to figure out how to pay for it when I was younger. And I think it just keeps going in you. It's like, if I want to learn something, I'm going to have to figure it out. And I think that's why KBB appealed to me so much. It's a very linear blueprint. And I love when you tell me how to do the steps and then just tell me to go do it. Cause then I'm like, oh, this just, thank you. You just made my life so. I'm not Googling everything or trying to figure out what the next step is or how to unravel something. It's just all right there. Just follow
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that does build confidence is just doing the darn thing and, keep moving little steps forward. I think that's what builds confidence. And when you have a blueprint that is kind of like no brainer telling you all the steps, every step you go through, you're like, oh, I did that. So it just,
oh no, there's all kinds of pats on the back. There's little quizzes after each module. So like, oh, I got this. Yeah, it does help. And then we have this incredible community online. There are 32,000, I think, people on as of this week in Facebook who are there cheering you on. You have all the support you could possibly need. And as one of the coaches there, it's really cool because when I get to do those intensives, I've got 8 people at my table and I get to help them, and they've got every background. And to watch them come in with having maybe one idea about what they want to launch, and then at the end of those 48 hours, they're like launching something else and they're excited because they've gotten their first sale or first person signed up for their mastermind. That's the kind of energy I run off of as well. It's really infectious. So I love serving. I love helping. And I think Brendan made that really clear to me last year. And I started to look at stages in a completely different way. And I was like, I just want to get my message out to people, not because I have such a special one, but if I can help you get unstuck, then I've done my job.
Yeah, that's amazing. And the other thing that I've heard this quote, you could say that, what is it? You can't be what you can't see.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, like, seeing is believing. Like you have to have the confidence in yourself to create what you want out of your life. So, and if you don't see it, then it's just, how do you create it? How do you put a map together of something that you don't even see in yourself? So I think that's where the confidence also comes in. You need to see it to believe it. So
I'd say visualize the finish line is what I like to say, because I think that's something that people can accept. Like, okay, so marathoning, right? It's the easiest explanation for this. So just, imagine yourself crossing that line. There is not a single athlete that isn't told to visualize the end, right? They're all told, if you want to win this match, if you want to win this race, if you want to win whatever in sports, you have to visualize yourself as the winner. And then you reverse engineer it. Then you're like, oh, then how do I what are all the steps I need to do to get there? But maybe it is the athlete in me. If you can visualize yourself at the finish, we can work on a plan to get you there. But if you doubt yourself and you don't believe you deserve or worthy of that all-star finish, it's probably going to be a rougher road.
Yeah, it's true. Well, is there anything you still struggle with as far as confidence in your job you have now and what you're serving in the world? Like, is there anything you still struggle with?
Yeah, I'm human. So this, I laugh because, obviously I've been working from home for 10 years. This shouldn't be a big thing, but the minute I was told not to, and then we went foraging for food, right? And then you start binge eating on crap food. So I am like a no sugar. People who know me know that I don't eat sugar. I don't eat dairy. I don't eat gluten. What have I been surviving on for the past, for the first 10 days, I'll say. That was probably what I was eating because everyone was looking for comfort food. So I had to even stop myself and be like, what am I doing? I'm falling into those dumb traps. I don't even feel good when I eat sugar. Like, I literally, my whole body hurts when I do it.
Yeah.
So gave myself a break. I'm human. I wasn't alone in this crap eating cycle that we were all in. Hopefully everyone else is feeling like I am, which is like, I feel so much better when I eat my vegetables.
Yeah.
And, I'm just making sure that that junk is not in my house, because if it's not here, I don't want it. And then, I love what I do for work. I mean, again, my business, I'll say my business side, and it's funny because I have a global community of women called Wonder Women. It's a mastery class, and all backgrounds. And we help them scale their businesses, which I feel like I can do that in my sleep. And then
Amazing.
we talk about their wellness, and I'm like, I can help you in my sleep. I even have to correct myself. And relationships. So I'd say my biggest pillar of things that I always have to work on is relationships. One, solo entrepreneurs, we are used to doing things ourselves. So, hiring the right staff, finding the right help, and delegating, that was a huge thing for me. That was something I had to really practice and acknowledge and share that I do need help. And it's okay to need help and to find the right people, because getting a project manager was probably the best investment I've ever made in my business.
Mm.
Because there's a point where I can't do my job if I'm doing all the busy work too. So I had to delegate, which was a wonderful thing. And then personal relationships. I still am a really bad picker when it comes to men. I do. So I try to be very, very cautious, I want to say, about my relationships. Currently single, um, but but not unhappy. So that's the thing, is like, I'm okay. Like, I'm good with me.
Good.
A long time, it was also really important for me just to scale this new brand. And I was 100% in, and I was like, I will not be good to anybody else because I won't have time to focus on them properly. So that was also kind of a nice little buffer and a way to just stay focused. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss that aspect, or didn't wish I had some other choices had been better. But I've learned from these relationships so much, and I've learned what I don't want in a
Yeah.
relationship. So I'm back to, I'm okay, because the right guy just has not been there. There's been some fun, like right now kind of guys, but not long term, want to grow old with you. Let's be let's be in isolation together,
I
guys.
know.
Like, I'm
Quarantine together.
glad. I'm glad I would not be social distancing properly right now.
That's so funny. Well, honestly, I think that there's a lesson in everything. And I think that, like you said, you've learned what you can live without and you can live with. And so it's all serving us in some way. Well, I'm
Absolutely.
curious. So, well, thank you so much for everything you shared. I mean, honestly, we all need some confidence to build ourselves up at this time and to step into what we want to do and want to create at this time. And I think that it does stem with getting right in our mind that we are capable of bringing that into our lives. And I do think that, especially for women, being confident in your own skin and your own body. I mean, I'm a big person that loves, keeping fit and healthy and all that, because it all helps us build that confidence to, you know, bring anything else into our lives. And that can mean in relationships, business, anything really. So it's essential. I do think it is the one aspect that we all need.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So I always ask my guests two questions. So I know you've written a book, but if you were to write a book on your life story, what would be a piece of advice that you would share on the first page?
Oh, that's so good. Okay, did I already share it though? Uh, since we're talking about relationships, I'll probably go back to that. Or you know what? No. Trust your gut. I think instinctively we actually all have an intuitive ability, and I think we choose not to listen, or we let that noise get in the way. Trust your gut. Trust your
I
gut.
love it. I love it. And we did touch on that in regards to your health, and you knew something was off. And if you just listened to yourself opposed to the other noise around you, you might have solved it sooner. So yes, amen to that. And then the second question, what does a passionate, purposeful life look like to you?
Mm. Well, doing what I'm doing, continuing to serve, because I really do love being in this realm. It's so rewarding. But mixed in with some really spectacular travel. The part I'm missing. It was amazing because we just came off that launch and I was like,
Mm.
and I'm gonna go to Hawaii, and no, I'm not. Like I was looking so forward to vacation. Um, I'm happy that I didn't go. I'm happy that, I am where I'm at. It's again, life changed for us. But there's a reason behind that too. So there's
Yeah,
a lesson in all of this. So yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, this has been such an honor. I'm so thankful that you made your time, and I know our time, you could say, is more available these days, but I think we're both creative, so we could spend hours and hours doing so much. So it's not really so much more available. It's just we're being mindful of the time we're spending now, I think, which is important.
Sure, Erica, I'm still working 24/7. I mean, you
Yeah.
have to set limits. You really do. But yeah, it's an exciting time. I know it's odd to say that right now, but it is an exciting time because so many people need help and they need direction. So there's actually a lot of work to be had for us.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, thank you so much. Again, this has been such an honor.
Ah, thank you. I really appreciate it.